when you make your test corrections, use that page I gave you on Tuesday that's got your name on it up at the top. It asks you, first of all, for all of the formulas. So real quick, let's run through here and let's make sure we have all the formulas written down. The formulas that we've dealt with in this chapter, if you have your X, you have your Y, there's three formulas that deal with this. The first one is slope. Remember, in slope, what's the most important thing? What goes on top? Y goes on top, so Y1 minus Y2 over X1 minus X2. On your test corrections page, make sure you got that written at the top of it right there. Look, it's the first question. Right there above, it asks you to make sure you have the slope written down. So there's the formula for slope. What's the second thing that's for? Is it distance from the midpoint? Midpoint. So do your midpoint. I suggest you write it like this. You write X sub m, Y sub m, which stands for the X value to the midpoint, Y value to the midpoint. And then just add your X's, divide by 2, add your Y's, divide by 2. What's important there that you remember is with midpoint, it is addition, and then the other two formulas, it's subtraction. Got that? What did we say again? The most important point about slope was Y goes on top. What's the most important point about midpoint? You're adding. Right? Distance formula. The third one is the distance formula, guys. In the distance formula, you do x1 minus x2 squared plus y1 minus y2 squared. Guys, this is a Pythagorean theorem, is all that is. I know it looks a lot different than a Pythagorean theorem, but a squared plus b squared equals d squared. You're finding d. If you want to find d instead of d squared, you take the square root of both sides. So boom, you end up with it. Okay, so d equals the square root of this stuff. You need me? Yes. From what? Back there? Probably yes. I gotta make sure. Okay. So d equals the square root of x1 minus x2 squared plus y1 minus y2 squared. Okay? That's the distance formula. And then the last one it asks for is Pythagorean theorem. The important thing about the Pythagorean theorem is that your hypotenuse is C. As on that page I gave you today, that's the first row above where the table is. Everybody see where I'm at? All right. Number one, I go over in a video on my webpage. It's already done. If you'll watch this, it's listening to me talk. What I expect to see, guys, is this stuff right here. Okay? What I expect to see in that box for number 2 is you took the numbers and you plug them in. Plug in x minus 4 squared. Don't just circle C. Don't put C. X minus 4 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 4. Write it down. You took 4 and you put it in for H. You took 3 and you put it in for K. And you squared your radius. That was about the biggest mistake that we made there. Yeah?
So we can train something tomorrow without a question.
Okay. All I need you to do tomorrow is do 1 through 10. You don't have to go through the rest of the thing. I want to talk about them before you. Okay, number 3, there's a distance formula problem when you're given the 2 points. Okay, in this one, as this one is not on the video because this is going to be the next part of the video. Okay, in this problem, I drew that little arrow in to show you that 16 is the what? Hypotenuse. So 16 is the one that's squared. So 16 squared. So x squared plus 13 squared equals 16 squared. Okay, now let's work this out. So x squared x squared plus 13 squared, anybody? 169 equals 256. So now, am I adding 256 or subtracting 169? Yeah, and guys, that makes a difference. That makes all the difference. That's the difference between knowing how to do these and not knowing how to do these. So now I'm going to subtract 169. So now x squared equals 256 minus 169. It'll help with the calculator in a second. 87. So now, am I done? Square root it. Say it right. See the difference? It's kind of like inverses of each other. Not kind of like inverses, but is inverses of each other. So you're not squaring it, you're taking the square root of it. So x equals square root of 87. Guys, that's it. Go to the next problem. Square root of 87 is perfectly legitimate answer. But somebody said, Coach Hill, 8 plus 7, so I know 3 goes into it, but 3 goes into 87 29 times, and both of those numbers are prime. Can you circle 3? Because you can't cross anything out. Can you circle 29? Because you can't cross one out. So what do? Go to the next problem. That's a very good mathematician's answer right there. 5, worked out on there. 6. Look, it says if the midpoint of QR is 5, negative 2. So the point that's in the middle, guys, the midpoint formula is x1 plus x2 divided by 2, and it's telling us the midpoint is 5. So that 5 is the middle, plus 13 divided by 2. Okay, so to solve this, that's 10 equals x1 plus 13, so x equals negative 3. Negative 3. The big thing that I can't get you guys to do is right here. Do it. 13 minus 3 is 10. 10 divided by 2, 5. Guys, the right answer works the problem. Y'all will just work it and think, that's the answer, I'm done. Not at all, guys. Not at all. Okay? Y midpoint is negative 2. Some y value plus 8 divided by 2, negative 4 equals y plus 8. Y is negative 12.